Stokes has got like the worst diet in the world. How long are you going fishing for, mate? Oh, just a week. So after that session where I caught baby choco, as much as I hoped to get back down the lake for one more trip, unfortunately the inevitable happened, and a couple of days after I got home, before I managed to return, I had the news that they started spawning and the lake was closed for a month. But it had been a brilliant spring. You know, to be honest, I couldn't have asked for a better result. We've caught No Name, which is obviously the biggest fish in the lake, and to then catch baby choco, which is one of the best looking carp I've ever seen, let alone caught. Plus it's quite a rare one, that, along with a few other mega carp. As I say, couldn't have asked for a better spring, really. I've had a month off now. The lake's shut for a month. I've done a few other things, but the lake is now back open and I am planning my next trip for the back end of this week. So now is the ideal time to do a little bit of prep work. I need to prepare bait. I like to use a lot of particle in the summer, tiger nuts of course, but I also like to use a lot of hemp, pigeon conditioner. The pigeon conditioner, I mean, I've used a mix of 50-50 hemp and pigeon conditioner for as long as I can remember. You know, hemp is expensive, the pigeon conditioner just bulks it out, but it seems to work very well. I've not fished a lake yet where that combination doesn't catch them. It's also a good time to re-spool the reels. I want to put fresh 20-pound sub braid on them. The braid I've had on the reels I've had on since the winter, and it's looking a little bit tired now, so it's a good time for a freshen up. And yeah, just generally sort the van out, sort a bit of kit out, you know, just get everything ready. So when I return to the lake next week, I am all guns blazing. I do love the summer. It's one of my favourite periods of the year. The lakes are generally a little bit quieter, the weeds up. The carp can be pretty easy to find, although they can be difficult to catch at times, but with a little bit of effort and a little bit of pre-baiting, they are definitely there to be caught. Right, let's go fishing. So, it's the start of July and we are back at Stoneacres. I'm starting off where I finished off in Crow's Point. Not really seen anything because I didn't get here till late. I did fish a night elsewhere last night with a mate, had a bit of a social, so I ended up getting here about midday, which is never the best time to turn up, but wind's blowing up here. I have spoke to a few of the lads and fish have been seen down the other end, so whether it's the right decision or not, I don't know. But I thought I'd start off in here as I knew I'd be able to find spots. It's a full moon tonight and this is a good swim for Kevs, so you never know. I've put two over by the island. Just went out over there in the lee of the wind, had a little lead about in the sort of areas I fished last time. Found a couple of clear spots, dropped my usual cog leads and tiger nut hook baits, just with a few handfuls of tigers over the top. I didn't want to put too much bait in, just simply because chances are I'm going to end up moving. The third rod I've put out in open water just in front. Again, had a little bit of a lead about, found a clear area. As I say, the viz is gone, so you can't see, so it's just normal fishing now. You know, you've got to find spots with a rod and line. You can't see the bottom. But yeah, I found a clear area out in front about 80 yards, put a rod on that. Whether it's the one or not, I don't know, but it seemed like a good starting point. We've got a few nights ahead of us, so yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I say we've got a few nights ahead of us. We've got the whole summer ahead of us, and I'm looking forward to it. I think a lot of them are down there off the back of the wind, which does sort of make sense. does look good down here. Really good. Not that we've seen any carp, but judging by the amount of weed of art on the surface, I'd say there's definitely a few of art. Carp just love weed. Right, carp love weed for the cover, for the food it holds. You know, generally, this time of the year, wherever the weediest part of the lake is, that's where the carp are spending most of their time. And it's a lot weedier down here than it is up that end where we're fishing. Oh, carp, flipping carp. Let's go get the kit, let's go, let's go. Right there, look at that, Jacko, have a quick look at that. There you go, look, carp. First thing we've seen, first carp I've seen since coming back. It wasn't a big one, but it was a carp, 110%. Where there's one carp, there's always more. At least if you feel like you're on them, you feel like you're fishing rather than camping. And as it stands at the minute, we're camping.
It didn't take long to have the kit packed away, and with the luxury of the track now being open, it was just a short drive down to the new swim. Unfortunately, the heavens had opened up, but having seen that carp, it was too good of an opportunity to miss. So I put the waders on to have a good lead around in the hope of finding presentable areas, which proved more challenging than I had anticipated.
It's as weedy as it looks. That's what I found out.
It might have been a bit wet, but conditions were perfect for the time of the year. I put out my usual summer mix of seeds, nuts and boilie, bait in the clean area that I had found with pinpoint accuracy from the boat. It felt good for it, and I couldn't wait to get the rigs out.
Right, so the bait's out there. I've decided to put a little bit more bait out there tonight. I've put some particle, a few boilies and a few tigers, probably a couple of kilo in total. Quite a bit more than I have been using on here in the past, but we are in the summer now, the fish have spawned. I found a nice spot near to where I saw that carp show. I'm feeling pretty confident, to be honest. How I'll get on with the tench with putting a bit of particle and boilies out there, I don't know. I have got tiger nut hook baits on there, which will hopefully keep them at bay, and being a relatively easy cast, at least I can recast the rods if I do get tench. I've not got to go out there in the boat, etc. Setups wise, it's virtually the same as what I was using before, albeit I've changed now to a lead clip system, just because I believe that casts a little bit better than the cog lead system does. Not that you can't cast a cog lead, but I know that these are going to go out there lovely and untangled. I've got 4 1/4 ounce leads on there, same hooks as I was using before, the new prototype ones, and as I say, just a single tiger nut tipped with a bit of pink corn, same hook bait as I caught those ones on just before they spawned. So as you can see, the weather's pretty miserable. It's not stopped raining all afternoon. Never mind, it is what it is. All I've got to do now is cast these 2 rigs out for the drops. And we've got a lovely curry cooked by Mr. Rossiter to look forward to. So yeah, hopefully we can get these out there in a couple of casts and enjoy our curry and a beer.
The rigs went out perfectly, and with the rain still coming down, there was a real sense of anticipation.
Come on the carp.
It was a quiet night, but having stayed up well into dark, I had seen and heard fish showing beyond me, confirming they were still in the area. Everything about this zone felt right. I was confident in my approach, and with the amount of weed in the area, I just knew those carp wouldn't be far away, so I just needed to stick with it. After seeing out the morning bite time, I refreshed the rods with new hooks and hook baits. Knowing how important the next bite could be on a lake such as Stoneacres, I always take the time to ensure everything is perfect. I again used the float to mark the spot, deciding to top up with another small bucket of bait. There are a large number of tench present in the lake, so I was confident that most, if not all, of the previous night's bait had now gone. I took to the boat again to put the bait out, as you just can't beat the accuracy gained by using a boat. I was loving every minute of this Stoneacres campaign, and I was a man on a mission. Just finding spots and placing the rigs could take hours, especially if the weather was against you. But when that next bite could be Kev's, it could have taken me all day and I wouldn't have had a care in the world. With the rods out bang on the money, I sat back to enjoy a beautiful summer's evening beside the lake. The realities of Stoneacres were now really starting to set in. It had been almost a month since the lake had opened and I was still yet to have a bite. Even though I was putting in maximum effort, baiting spots, it just hadn't happened. But with only 45 carp in 50 odd acres, carp that had seen it all, were immensely pressured. This was sort of to be expected. In fact, the previous year, the lake had not done a single bite throughout August, but all you can do is carry on, keep trying, as you just never know. That next bite could be just around the corner.
Torn now on what to do. Just seen them up the other end yesterday and seen nothing early this morning. I'm packed. Other than 2 rods still in the pond, I'm packed up ready to move. But a couple have just started showing, so no, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun. I'm sure I just saw one in this bush as well. Not positive, but so I'm literally just going to put a single. I'm going to put a single balanced tiger with a tiny pinch of hemp and a few crushed nuts around it. Big 8-ounce cog lead, big sharp hook. They don't stand a chance. It's good enough for Terry, it's good enough for me. I reckon that's it. That is literally all that is going out. Tiny bit of hemp and particle, half a dozen nuts, a few broken, a few whole. Right. Carp. Carp. In here, boy. In here. That is on the dinner table. Ah, flipping difficult in that wind. With the trap set, I have to admit I was feeling pretty confident. The wind was blowing in. I had the right hand rod fishing to some snags up the right hand margin where I'd seen a few carp, and the other two rigs were placed in holes in the weed where I'd seen a couple show. I was on the phone to my mate Coxie, just talking about how good it felt, when out of the blue, the left hand rod was away.
The wire hasn't gone off. I've literally put like 4 knots on it.
Oh, I've got to go, I've got to go. How about that? 3 o'clock though, mate. I told you 3 o'clock was bite time. What's the time? Just after 3, I bet ya. Mate, I knew that was a good spot. I nearly didn't fish here. That's the one showed behind me this morning, like. Oh, buzzing. Buzzing. Completely out of the blue, middle of the afternoon. Let's see what we got. Nice comment. Shall we try and unhook it? Right, look at that. Can you see in there? You've got to get that. Look at that. Anyone see that hook hold? Look at that. That's a flipping hook hold. He was not getting away. Happy days. I'm gonna get that rig back out. Just in case, you know what I mean? Just in case. Well, that's a lovely comment, isn't it? Just under £31. Cheers, mate. That was a f***ing beaut, wasn't it, that lad? Hey! Right, so we're back at Stoneacres. I've got what looks like a £30 common in the sling, which I caught just before it got light this morning. But since it's got light, we've seen a couple very close to my baited spot out in the pond. So yeah, got a couple of nights ahead of me, and it feels very good for another one. Fingers crossed. Come on, Kevin. Come on, Kevin. Right, on closer inspection, it actually transpires that this common is the same common that I caught about a month ago from Calf Bay when Jackson was down. Bit of a shame. We've just got the pictures out just to double check. And as I say, it definitely is that one. I did sort of have an inkling that it might be that one because it's got quite a recognisable top lip. But never mind, you can't choose what you're going to catch. There's not loads of carp in here, so it's inevitable you're going to get the odd repeat. I'm not going to get him out on the bank and go through the whole rigmarole of weighing him and taking photos and whatnot again, but I'll just lift him out to show you. There he is. Ooh. There he was. Close to Bob. He wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. Well, there you go. Caught one. You saw it. That was so bad. Well, there you go. There's a fish. Fucking hell. Jesus. Right, so you just saw that common that I caught this morning, if only briefly, as it made a sudden dash for freedom. Unfortunately, it was one I caught about a month ago. Usually this time of year, I like to bait swims and try and get something going. The lake's been a lot quieter than it has been in the spring, or than it was in the spring, should I say, which sort of has allowed me to do that. After a few trips in Ireland, I eventually managed to catch a few. Finally, we got a carp. I had a good trip where I caught a 34-pound mirror, 3410, one known as a bearded lady, sort of lovely half linear. I then had a small mirror, just over 25 pound, and a 32-pound common on my final morning. But then there was a dramatic change in the weather. Throughout July, we'd had very sort of autumnal conditions. It was a very wet, windy July. The fish I'd been seeing were out in the middle over deep water, and that's eventually where I caught those fish from. But then the weather changed, it went warm, the wind swung, and I ended up moving down into Cafe Bay, which is a much shallower area of the lake. It was blowing northeasterly, looked really good down there. I'd actually seen a couple show. I actually ended up catching one from Cafe Bay on my first sort of day fishing in that swim. I'd obviously got the rods out the evening before, and that day I caught a 30-pound common, which actually turned out to be the same common as what I caught this morning. I baited those spots that I fished in Caff, and the following week I went back in there and managed to catch another one, a lovely 34-pound mirror. So I'd had a good little spell there. That was 3 consecutive trips throughout August where I'd managed to catch fish every trip. Unfortunately, after that, it went a little bit downhill. The weather was up and down. I ended up moving out of Caff Bay, fished elsewhere for a couple of trips, and I think I had 2 blank trips basically. I ended up having 2 blank trips. We had a really hot week last week where I fished in here, Crow's Point, which is where I am now. I didn't catch anything, but I saw a lot of fish, mainly just cruising through the swim, but I ended up baiting a couple of spots out in open water last week. 1 long, 31 wraps out towards the middle, and 1 short out here to the right at 17 wraps, where on the last morning of my trip last week, I saw 2 carp consistently showing there. I saw both fish show multiple times. One was what looked like a mid-20 mirror, and the other one was much bigger. I couldn't tell you what carp it was, even though I saw it show clearly a couple of times, but every time it showed, it was back onto me, and it was very wide. It was definitely one of the big ones.
In hindsight, looking back now, that trip was a major opportunity. It was mid-September, it was the lead up to the moon, and the more I think about it, that big fish that had showed the week before, I am now pretty sure that that was Kev's. The spot had been smashed, they turned me over multiple times. I really feel like I should have caught him on that trip, but unfortunately, it just didn't really happen.
When I returned yesterday, that short spot there had been smashed. It looked totally different to what it did before. The bit of the bait that I'd put out had ended up going in the weed. It's like that, what's it called, like onion weedy type stuff. And where the bait was in the weed, the bait had gone and so had the weed. They basically created another spot. Also, one of the spots on the bar that I was fishing out to the left had been completely smashed. It was only a small spot to begin with, but now it's probably 2/3 of the size of a bivvy. So I can see a few boilies and a few tigers, but literally 90% of the bait that I put on that spot last night has gone. As I say, the weed's been pushed back. They have well and truly mugged me off. Unfortunately, the lung spot hadn't been touched. Now, the reason I know all this, the clarity's not great at the minute, but I've been using a little underwater camera. Some may class it as cheating, but everyone on here is using them. They're, you know, obviously I've got a boat and they're flipping edgy, you know, for being able to see. Basically, you can see the bottom, you know, I can see what bait's gone, you know, how the spot's looking. So basically, even though I'd baited a spot lung, last night I decided just to put 3 rods out, fishing the 2 spots that had obviously been fed on. Felt really confident going into last night. And yeah, just before it got light this morning, I had a bite on the left-hander, which is on that shallow spot on the bar, just by the weed bed to the left, and caught that common. Really thought I was going to get one on the other spot because, like I say, it had been absolutely trashed, and we did see a few this morning showing in the area, but unfortunately it didn't go. But there's still time yet. I've got a few nights left ahead of me. The weather looks really good this week after sort of a heat wave last week. It's a lot cooler now, southwesterly wind. We've got the new moon coming later in the week. Unfortunately, the wind does swing today and go to a northerly, but it's only sort of going to blow northerly for 24, 36 hours. And my plan is to stay put because I know the wind's going to come back this way for that moon at the end of the week. So fingers and toes are crossed. All the big ones are due. It's a great time of the year. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, unfortunately, it was very quiet last night, but that didn't really come as a surprise as the wind did change direction yesterday and started blowing down the other end. I did hear one in the night, so there was obviously still a few about, but it was very quiet this morning. Wind is due to change direction today and come back in my favour in time for the moon, so the plan is to just sit on my hands and hope that they come back. But while we sit here and wait, I thought I'd just talk to you about the gear that I've been using this season on Stoneacres. I've got the 12'6", 4-pound test curve Kaizens. These are actually the Kaizen Customs, which you can have built to your own specifications. Now mine are pretty standard, albeit for I've got different eyes from what you get on the ones from the shops. The shop brought ones have got minima guides, whereas mine have got ceramic in them, sort of more traditional style eyes. Reason for that is I'm an avid braid user, I use it most of the time, and although you can use braid with the minima guides, it's just a little bit smoother, I think, with guides that have got ceramic in them. They're just a bit more suited to using with braid. I've got 20-pound sub braid on there, obviously. I love that stuff, use it wherever I go as long as I'm allowed to. Super strong, sinks really well. Ideal for fishing at long range if you're towing them out there with a boat, you know, with bite indication and whatnot. Cuts through the weed and it's just perfect for fishing in all kinds of situations. Tied to the end of that, I've got 20-pound IQ2 leaders. I've got around 20 foot of that on the end. It is super strong and of course invisible in the clear water, and it's super tough as well. In fact, I've had those same leaders on all year, and I literally tie my cog lead system directly to the end of that 20-pound IQ2 leader. So that's what I've been using and I've got absolute faith in it. Fishing is more to me than just a hobby, it's my life. When fully immersed in a campaign such as this, it's as though nothing in the outside world matters and any worries just fade away. It is just me against the carp
and the thought of that next big un is never far from my mind. It is a total escapism, losing myself in one of life's simple pleasures.
When it comes to these sort of campaigns, you know, on these low stock, big pits, fishing for these pressured carp that have seen it all, obviously everybody sees the end result, you know, the pictures of you holding these big carp, but what you don't see is all the blanks, you know, all the effort that goes into it. You know, I've had it on many occasions where there have been weeks, if not months on end without a bite. It can be hard to stay positive during those times, but what I've found in the past is, you know, as long as you stick to it, keep going, you know, keep putting the effort in, it always comes good in the end. And when it does, those blanks are soon forgotten.
Boys, boys, boys. Lads. I'm fucking in. Happy flipping days.
I ain't got a clue what it is, it's a nice one though. Look at that for a beautiful carp. Like most of the fish up here at Stoneacres, these are as good as carp come. I've had an incredible spring and summer fishing down here in Oxfordshire, caught loads of mega carp, topped of course by a new PB mirror in the shape of No Name at over 51 pounds. We're now well into September and the fishing is no doubt starting to slow down. It's been very autumnal for the last few days, but it's not over yet. I'm going to carry on for the next few weeks. I'm going to give it to the end of October, so who knows, there's still chance of another fish or two yet. Even if we don't catch any more, it's still been an incredible spring and summer down here at Stoneacres. Cheers, mate.
Although it wasn't the end of the year that I was dreaming of, with Kev's managing to elude me, it only fueled the fire to return to Stoneacres to settle the score. That is the reality of big carp fishing. Nothing is ever guaranteed. But the secret is, never give up on your dreams, never lose hope, and just keep on going.